Good morning, everyone. You've been sensing it for a while now, haven't you? That undeniable current of feeling directed at you from someone whose regard carries weight you can't quite dismiss. And what you're picking up on isn't just casual interest or fleeting attraction, but something deeper, more substantial. The kind of love that's been building quietly beneath surface interactions, growing roots before you even realize the seed was planted. But there's something else happening in this situation that you haven't fully seen yet, something that's going to recontextualize everything you thought you understood about this connection. Let me share what I'm perceiving in the layered realities surrounding you right now. The first thing breaking through is this confirmation you might be experiencing that yes, what you've been sensing is accurate. You could be picking up on someone who's genuinely in love with you, not performing attraction, not testing waters, not keeping you as backup option while they explore other possibilities. You might be sensing the real thing, someone whose internal world has reorganized itself around your existence, whose thoughts return to you compulsively, whose choices are being filtered through how those choices affect their proximity to you or their standing in your estimation. You could be picking up on being held as precious, as essential, as someone they're building mental future around, even if they haven't explicitly declared that construction project to you yet. Here's what you could be observing in how this person shows up around you. You might be noticing consistency that goes beyond what casual interest would sustain, attention that doesn't waver based on your mood or availability, investment that remains steady even when you're difficult or distant or demonstrating very human flaws. You could be picking up on someone who sees your complexity and, rather than being deterred by it, is drawn to exactly that depth, who appreciates your analytical mind, your high standards, your tendency toward self criticism, not as obstacles to overcome, but as integral parts of person they're drawn to. You might be experiencing being loved not despite your Virgo nature, but because of it. And that specificity of their regard is part of what makes it feel genuine rather than generic. What's pulsing through the emotional substrate is that you could be dealing with someone whose love for you is coexisting with significant complication. You might be sensing that what I'm about to reveal isn't about their feelings being false, those are real, but about circumstances surrounding those feelings being more complex than you've understood, about situation having dimensions you haven't had full visibility into. You could be picking up on there being more to the story. And that missing information is going to require you to reassess not whether they love you, but what loving you means in context of realities you're about to become aware of. This reflection invites you to consider how you'll respond if the complication I'm sensing turns out to be significant, and whether your love for this person, if that's what you're feeling in return, is strong enough to navigate complexity, or whether you need straightforward situations where love is sufficient without additional factors to manage. You might be noticing that you're experiencing nervousness about what shocking information could be coming. You could be picking up on anticipatory anxiety, your Virgo mind already spinning through worst case scenarios, imagining betrayals, hidden relationships, fundamental incompatibilities you've somehow missed despite your typically excellent observational skills. You might be sensing that fear of the unknown is worse than whatever actual revelation awaits. And while I understand that tendency to catastrophize, I want to suggest that shocking doesn't automatically mean devastating. Sometimes shocking means surprising in ways that actually illuminate rather than destroy, that complicate rather than negate. What's threading through the hidden architecture is that you could be dealing with someone whose circumstances are shifting dramatically. You might be approaching awareness of major life change this person is navigating: career transition, family situation, health matter, relocation, possibility, something substantial that affects their capacity to pursue you in ways they'd like to. You could be picking up on their love being real while their availability is limited. Not because they're stringing you along, but because they're managing realities that constrain their freedom to act on feelings they're experiencing, and learning that their hesitation or complexity isn't about ambivalence toward you, but about practical obstacles they're working through, might actually be relieving rather than shocking once you understand full picture. What's particularly interesting about what I'm witnessing is that you might be approaching revelation about this person's past connection to you. You could be sensing that your relationship has deeper history than you consciously remember, that you've crossed paths before in contexts you didn't register as significant, that they've been aware of you for longer than you've been aware of them. You might be picking up on discovering that what feels like recent development for you has been years-long process for them, and understanding that asymmetry in timing, that they've loved you while you were completely unaware of their existence, or at least of their feelings, is going to shift how you understand the intensity they're bringing to this connection. Um, you might be observing that you're experiencing this situation as having elements you didn't anticipate. You could be picking up on age difference you haven't fully acknowledged, geographic distance that's more significant than you've been treating it, cultural or religious factors that create complexity, previous relationship between them and someone in your circle. You might be sensing that shocking element involves social complication, ways that being together publicly would generate reaction from others that you'd have to navigate, and determining whether you're willing to face that scrutiny for sake of connection that might be worth it is calculation you'll need to make once you have complete information. What's also surfacing is that you could be dealing with someone who's been protecting you from information they thought would overwhelm you. You might be sensing that what you're about to learn has been deliberately withheld, not maliciously, but because this person was trying to manage the pacing of disclosure, trying to establish foundation of trust before revealing complexity they worried might scare you away. You could be picking up on their calculation about timing. And while you might initially feel upset about not having been told sooner, understanding their motivation, protection, rather than deception might help you receive information with more grace than if you framed it as dishonesty. This reflection invites you to consider how important complete transparency is to you from the beginning of connection versus how much space you can give for people to reveal themselves in stages as trust develops, and where your boundary is between acceptable privacy and unacceptable concealment. You might be noticing that you're experiencing desire to know immediately what the shocking element is. You could be picking up on your Virgo need for information, for clear parameters, for being able to assess situation with all relevant data. And that preference for knowing is valid, even as I'm going to suggest that sometimes slow reveal serves purpose of preventing premature judgment. You might be sensing tension between wanting transparency and recognizing that some truths need context, that knowing one shocking fact without understanding circumstances surrounding it can create a distorted picture that's actually less accurate than slower, more complete disclosure that allows nuance to be communicated alongside bare facts. What I'm witnessing in the probability streams is that you could be dealing with situation involving someone who's technically available but situationally complicated. You might be approaching learning about commitments they have that aren't romantic but still constrain them is less than #0. 5 is greater than obligations to family members, financial entanglements from previous relationship, legal situations that limit their freedom. You could be picking up on discovering that loving you and being able to act fully on that love are currently at odds, not forever necessarily, but for definable period while they resolve matters that have nothing to do with how they feel about you, but everything to do with what they can offer you right now. The vibrational signatures suggest you might be experiencing this person as having something in their past that they're nervous to disclose. You could be sensing that shocking information involves their history, mistake they made, trauma they survived, identity aspect they're not sure you'll accept, previous life chapter that doesn't align with who they are now, but that they're afraid will change how you see them. You might be picking up on their vulnerability around disclosure and how you respond when they finally share, whether with compassion or judgment, is going to determine whether this connection can deepen or whether it ends at moment of revelation, because they can't tolerate rejection of their full truth. What's significant is that you could be approaching a moment where you discover this person needs something from you they haven't asked for yet. You might be sensing that shocking element involves request for patience while they handle situation, for discretion about relationship while they manage social complexity, for acceptance of limitation on how quickly this can develop. You could be picking up on them preparing to ask whether you're willing to wait is less than has home. 0# is greater than. And that question, are you willing to hold space for love that can't immediately manifest as traditional relationship, is going to require you to get very clear about what you actually need versus what you're capable of compromising on. This reflection invites you to consider what your non-negotiables are in romantic connection, and whether this person's love alone is enough to make limitations they might be bringing worthwhile, or whether you need more than emotional availability to feel satisfied in relationship, regardless of how genuine the feelings are. You might be picking up on this shocking information being something you've suspected but haven't wanted to confirm. You could be experiencing that uncomfortable sensation of knowing without knowing. where your intuition has been picking up signals, but your conscious mind has been explaining them away because facing truth would require decisions you're not ready to make. You might be sensing that revelation coming isn't going to be complete surprise. That part of you already knows, and that confirmation of suspicion is going to activate different response than if information were truly coming from nowhere less shock, more confrontation with what you've been avoiding acknowledging. What's also coming through is that you could be dealing with situation involving someone who's loved you while watching you date others. You might be approaching awareness that this person has been present in your life while you were invested elsewhere, that they've maintained connection while internally struggling with seeing you choose people who weren't them. You could be picking up on discovering their patience, their faithfulness, even when they weren't officially yours to be faithful to. And understanding the depth of what they've endured while waiting for you to see them is going to hit differently than if their interest just developed recently without history of witnessing your romantic life unfold. The resonant frequencies suggest you might be experiencing this person as having protected themselves through emotional distance. You could be sensing that what appears as coolness or unavailability isn't disinterest but self protection. That they've loved you while maintaining boundaries to prevent themselves from being destroyed by proximity to someone they couldn't have. You might be picking up on learning that behaviors you interpreted as mixed signals were actually their attempt to manage feelings they weren't ready to declare. And recognizing that reframes your understanding of past interactions in ways that might make you see patterns you missed. What's threading through the karmic implications is that you could be dealing with someone who represents significant growth opportunity. You might be sensing that whatever shocking complication exists is precisely the challenge you need. That easy relationship wouldn't push you to develop capacities you're meant to cultivate. You could be picking up on this person and this situation as serving your evolution. And while that doesn't make complication comfortable, it does give it meaning beyond just obstacle to happiness. It makes it potential catalyst for becoming more of who you're meant to be. This reflection invites you to consider whether you're someone who grows through comfort or through challenge, and whether complicated love that demands your expansion is actually more aligned with your soul's path than simple love that lets you stay exactly as you are. So, as you prepare for whatever revelation is approaching about this person who loves you, practice staying open rather than armoring immediately. You might be experiencing urge to protect yourself preemptively, to close down before you can be hurt, to reject before you can be rejected. But what I'm sensing is that shocking information coming isn't going to negate their love. It's going to add context that requires you to decide whether you can love them back within reality rather than fantasy of uncomplicated romance. Trust that you can handle whatever you're about to learn. You might be afraid that information will devastate you, but you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. You're capable of holding complexity. You can love someone and still enforce boundaries. You can be disappointed without being destroyed. And whatever this shocking element turns out to be, it's not going to erase the genuine connection you felt or the real love this person has for you. It's just going to show you the full picture so you can make informed choice about whether to stay. The person loves you. That's real. The shocking part is real too. Both can be true. And your work isn't to decide whether to believe the love or believe the complication. It's to integrate both truths and determine whether love plus complication equals something you're willing to invest in. Not whether you should, not whether it's wise, but whether you want to. Because want is the only foundation that can support navigating complexity that's coming. Stay curious, stay honest, stay connected to what you need, even as you're compassionate toward what they're experiencing. The shocking information is arriving. And when it does, when you have complete picture, let yourself feel whatever you feel without rushing to decision. You're allowed to be surprised. You're allowed to need time to process. You're allowed to ask for what you need in order to determine if this is workable, and trust that whatever you decide from place of full information and authentic self-knowledge is going to be right choice for you. Even if it's hard choice, even if it disappoints someone you care about, your clarity matters more than anyone's comfort. Remember that. Let the shock come. You'll handle it.